Welcome to the Bible Forum. I'm Warren Sprouse. How much money do you have in savings? We're being told that at least 60% of millennials have no savings, and their poor financial health has contributed to the reason why so many young adults can't afford a down payment on their first home. A new study published by the Urban Institute says the current home ownership rate of young adults is 37%. That's 8% lower than the home ownership rate of Generation X and baby boomers at the same age. 8% of 330 million people. The study goes on to say if the home ownership rate of millennials had stayed the same as previous generations, there would be about 3.4 million more homeowners than there are today. The study determined that 36% more graduates who had eliminated their debt or never had any owned a home, and graduates who paid off their debt were 7 times more likely to purchase a home. However, about 40% of millennials have student debt. An organization called Clever Real Estate says the student debt has delayed home buying by 8 years for millennials. The Federal Reserve has said that a $1,000 increase in student loan debt lowers the home ownership rate by about 1.5 percentage points for public 4-year college goers, those during their mid-20s. This is equivalent to an average delay of 2.5 months in attaining ownership, home ownership. That means the average student is about $37,000 in debt, putting them in an 8-year delay in home purchase. Now, none of this sounds like a support argument for unsecured debt. But in 2012, about 71% of all millennials graduating from college had a student loan. The average debt loan has quickly increased over time, moving to 37% from nearly $9,500 in the early 1990s. Today's levels are 3 times higher than those in 2006. We're going in the wrong direction. And it's not just home buying that's been delayed. Many millennials have avoided weddings and the starting of a family because their debts have limited their economic mobility. According to Douglas McIntyre with 24/7 Wall Street, who examined student loans data from a company called Lend.edu, he said the Deep South struggles with high amounts of credit card debt, while student loan debt is heavily concentrated in the Northeast. History will record millennials as the lost generation, as their ability to participate in the American dream of home ownership is cut short by student debt servicing payments. And with the next recession lurking around the corner, millennials could soon find themselves without a job and back in their parents' basements. Now, there are a dozen questions that go along with these statistics. Why are parents not helping their children with college? Well, because many are not parents. They're just caretakers. And because their debt load is also tremendous. They can't afford it. They had the children, but they never occurred to them that the kids might need an education and parents are the first line of help. Why are parents not teaching their children sound fiscal policies? The answer? Because they, the parents, don't have any sound fiscal policy themselves. Probably don't know any. We're not thinking about the cost of marriage. The cost of marriage almost always includes children. So we're not factoring in the parental idea. We're just jumping into this thing thinking that, well, our parents did it, so it must be okay, we'll just make out. We'll get there somehow. And we're being taught, carefully taught, over the last 30, 40 years that everybody has to have a college degree. No, they don't. Most people don't. If you look at the liberal arts colleges, I remember 15 years ago living in Wilmington, North Carolina, at a home of a state college, and looking up the statistics and realizing that if you took a liberal arts course, there's a great deal of, I've started the sentence wrong here, there's a large possibility that you're going to drop out of your liberal arts program after 2 years. 50% at that time were dropping out. And that a liberal arts education equips you for absolutely nothing. Liberal arts education today is equal to my high school diploma in 1961. My parents got a better education in the 30s than kids are getting today. And it's deliberate. If you're not in a science or something that actually equips you to do a job, you just mark in time. You come out with a liberal arts degree, it says you have the wherewithal to hang in there for 4 years and you can do what you're told. That's about all it tells anybody. And then there's the peer pressure. The peer pressure pushes young people into categories, into situations. The idea that a college education is going to be the ticket, it's going to set you up for life financially. Unless it's a science degree, a technical degree, something you can actually use, it's not true. I had a man in the van with me several months ago. I picked him up at Trident Community College here in Charleston, South Carolina. Big school. He was in his 40s. I talked to him. He's a computer guy. And he told me he had a master's degree. But he's going over here to Trident Community College to be certified in some kind of computer something or other. And he said what he's learned, he has 5 of these certifications now. And he said, if I had it to do all over again, I wouldn't get a master's degree, I'd just get certified. You're certified to be able to do that, you'll get a job. And that's what it's about. Well, I got stuff on the wall that says, hey, got a master's degree. Got no job. When I was in Wilmington, North Carolina, I worked for a while managing a bookstore. I hired a man who was probably in his late 30s, early 40s. And I asked him, he worked part-time for $5 an hour. This was 1992. And I asked him what he expected to do. And he said, well, he was going to college. Oh, well, over to UNCW. I said, what are you studying? Medieval French poetry. And I said, and what does that equip you to do? Oh, I have no idea, but it's fascinating to me. I really like it. 5 years later, I saw him crossing the street with his briefcase on the way to college. He's still in college, probably on loans. And as long as he's in college, he doesn't have to pay a loan back. That was 25 years ago. We have come a long way, and we're not equipping people to think straight and to do right. You don't need a college education to make a good living in this country. It wouldn't hurt. But you can go to a school that teaches you a trade and get the same kind of leg up. Get started. Don't spend everything you got. Put some money aside. Live the way your grandparents did. And you'll do fine in this country. We're not doing our children a service by allowing them to be educated by television and internet and friends. There's another way to do this and be successful.